In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming storminess, a fall-like pattern that's really going to set in. A lot of 70s, 60s, and even 50s, depending on where you're at, are on the way with a major Arctic blast. This one is going to just take us from record heat, potentially all the way down to very far below normal temperatures. It's going to be wild. We do have some storminess as we're taking a look at our current conditions throughout the western United States. It's been this way for a couple of days. We can see it spreading this way. We see some of this storminess spreading this way. It's really just exploding through the western United States there. We do see some activity here along our southeastern and Gulf states as well. Mostly isolated and scattered activity up here. We do have some showers up in the northeast. And then for our upper Midwest region here in Wisconsin and Michigan, we have heavier showers and heavier thunderstorms taking place in this persistent area there in Wisconsin. Let's just go ahead and take a look at some different areas here. We'll start out in our northwest most storminess, which is going to be this area near Oregon and California. We see it heading up just like this. We did have a low that was offshore for quite a while here in California. This has weakened and moved, I think, away from the coast, but we do still have some of this storminess heading through some of these different regions. As we take a look at up here at kind of your Rockies and north central United States, we have some showers moving across the region. Very, very quick showers that are taking place in there. And then as we take a look at the lower four corner states, or really all of the four corner states for that matter, or at least three of the four corner states, Colorado is a little bit high and dry there, but we do have most of the activity happening here in Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. Heavier at times for a few spots in here, especially these two southern states, Arizona and New Mexico. We are seeing a lot of these yellows and oranges popping up for these states, crossing over that Mexican border into these states. And we can see areas near Flagstaff, Phoenix, and Albuquerque really later on. We see these pop up nearby, or at least they're going to be heading in that direction. So we need to watch for certain areas. Obviously, Phoenix already seeing some of these in that area. Tucson as well, probably. Actually, these are really moving to the west of Tucson, I would say. You're kind of left in the dry here a little bit. So we'll see if you guys end up getting precipitation down there in Tucson or not. As we take a look up here at Wisconsin and Michigan, we can see these fast-moving thunderstorms in here. Intense, depending on where you're at, near Green Bay, south of Green Bay, kind of in between Green Bay and Milwaukee, actually, for the most part. And this is heading towards Michigan. We'll see what that ends up doing for a lot of these regions. But definitely I'm seeing some dark reds and some purples popping up in there, which is indicative of very, very intense areas of thunderstorm activity. We do see a little isolated spot here in Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas that is bringing some thunderstorms in there, north of Kansas City. Definitely interesting occurrence there. And then as we take a look here at the Gulf states, we see these isolated tropical thunderstorms taking place here for areas like there, near Florida as well. We see some of this popping up. And then eventually, once we take a look here at the northeast, we see that there is a storm system over top somewhere in here, bringing a lot of this storminess in these regions. Light to moderate showers, definitely widespread throughout the region. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is move on. We're going to talk about the upcoming storminess temperature pattern and tropics, because we have obviously Hurricane Fiona there in the Caribbean, but we also have a potential Gulf tropical system to watch for. So we're going to be talking all about those things. Now here we are taking a look at the upcoming pattern. Let's just move this towards this afternoon. And as you can see, we're going to have our hurricane right about here, just to the east of the Bahamas, impacting some of those very, very eastern islands here in the Bahamas. But it's going to probably scrape along and then obviously curve out to sea is our expectation at this point. Maybe even more of a northern trajectory than even that. Something more like this, probably more accurate. So Hurricane Fiona is going to probably almost definitely move out to sea at this point. Now, we do have some storminess here along the four corner states still basically heading into the afternoon, evening time frame. We see out west, we see some snowfall here for the Sierra Nevadas as well. And then we can see for a lot of the northern United States in here, we see some storminess taking place. Now let's just go ahead and move this towards Wednesday afternoon, and we can see this cold front brewing. 991 millibar low pressure center with a strong, stormy cold front in here with this Arctic blast. We're going to have a really, really record heat wave. Not even heat wave, because it's not going to be 3 days plus, I don't think, of 90s for a lot of folks, but really just an extreme area of heat for this time of year out ahead of this, and it's pretty normal to have that. So again, cold front located about here. We're going to have a lot of heat out ahead of this trying to spread in. But this cold air is going to be very extreme as well, and it's going to be shoving the hot air out. So, for instance, in Virginia, I think our forecasted high on Thursday is like 91, which is particularly high for this time of year, late September. That seems very high. But it's going to get down to 71 the following day on Friday. So we're going to have a strong cool down, possibly 20-degree swing or more for a lot of folks. Now, as we continue on towards Friday, this will be overnight. We can see where the cold front is. So a lot of the eastern United States, you're going to feel it, like I mentioned, on Friday, because overnight Thursday into Friday is when this cold front is moving through, which will allow the cold air to head in. Fiona is just about there. We see some storminess over the Rockies here and some of the plains just to the east of the Rockies. And then we get much quieter. We can see not a whole lot going on for days at a time. And then we see a cold front finally coming through again on Sunday, September 25th right here underneath this. Well, we have a secondary low there and then a primary low up here with a cold front stretching down just like that. And then this low develops into a 996 millibar low pressure center, bringing a lot of storminess here for the northeastern United States, kind of as a nor'easter. And look at that snowfall there for Canada. Tons and tons of it taking place for these areas up here. And here's that Gulf system that we're watching developing right there. So this will be potentially Monday the 26th. That's only 6 days from now. We see Tuesday the 27th. And then heading towards Friday the 30th, this is what the look is, right in the middle of the Gulf, heading towards somewhere along this Gulf of Mexico coast. You might be wondering, this is pretty long range, so surely this is the only model showing this, and this is just an outlier. Well, here we are taking a look at the GFS model, and we see it shows something fairly similar right on the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, but this one has it hitting the Tampa Bay area there of Florida. Same idea, different location. We can't expect the location to be perfect on these models this far out, but to see both of them trending at a strong tropical system in the Gulf of Mexico in this range is definitely worth noting, and something that could end up being accurate. Now, total precipitation through the next 10 days, we're looking at pretty much no precipitation there in the whites. Your grays will be about a tenth of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be a tenth of an inch to half an inch. Your blues will be half an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches, your reds will be 2 to 5 inches, and then your browns will be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. As far as total snowfall here, we're taking a look at about a dusting, if anything, there in the grays, and then your blues will be about 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. We see some of that there for Sierra Nevadas, the Rockies, and then eastern Canada there we see plenty of light to moderate snowfall accumulation amounts over the next 10 days. Very, very interesting stuff we're seeing there. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the temperature pattern. We're really, really warm, and again, we actually get our warmest around Wednesday, Thursday time frame, where we have all of this heat bottled up for these regions here. Thursday even for a lot of the southeast, more of the southern United States, but it's clear that this Arctic blast is just really moving its way in. Again, it comes from the Arctic and it blasts into the eastern United States. That's why it's an Arctic blast. Watch that take place. Boom. Strong Arctic blast. And it takes over by Friday. By the time you're waking up Friday, most likely you'll be feeling that. And this is by Friday night. Our greens will be 10 to 15 degrees below normal. These blues that we see in here, purplish blues that we see in some of these areas in here within the greens, that's going to be about 15 to 25 degrees below normal, which will be an even more significant departure from what's typical. Saturday will feel pretty similar to that. Sunday will be near normal, but Monday we have our next cold front coming through. So this is Monday high temperatures. We see the East Coast trying to hang on to some warmer temperatures, but we have another cold front coming through, and this one could be even more potent, lasting from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the Southeast, and even Friday there for the Southeast. Saturday here for October 1st. And then we see the heat try to move back into the east, as we can see. But more cool downs. We see another one right here. So definitely some interesting weather patterns we find ourselves in. But definitely the first Arctic blast here is something that we definitely expect. And then that second cold front seems very, very likely as well. So overall, the last little bit of September here for the East is going to be primarily cold from this point forward. There's going to be a couple of days in between those two Arctic blasts that will be warm. But outside of that, very, very cold for the next 10 days or so is the expectation. Now let's go ahead and take a look at your 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Here we are taking a look at it, and outside of Fiona, which is expected to stay out to sea, we do have two other areas of concern here as well. One underneath this is what the models are trending at eventually being that Gulf system. This one has a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours, so that is not expected. However, there is a 50% chance over the next 5 days, which is a pretty moderate chance at this point in the game, and definitely leads us to believe this has a good possibility of eventually developing. This one up here in the northern Atlantic has an 80% chance of development over the next 48 hours and also an 80% chance over the next 5 days. Definitely a very, very high chance of development. Now, be sure to tune in dailies. We will be going over all of these things. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next video.